My tics actually started in secondary school.
They did?
But yeah, they just... We didn't think they were tics. We thought I had hiccups all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's what my first tic was. It just sounds like a hiccup. But I was having them hundreds of times a day. And so I tried things like eating slower and stuff like that to try and get rid of these hiccups, which obviously didn't go away.
Drinking a glass of water from the wrong side of the glass.
Yeah, upside down. Obviously none of that worked. So we did actually go to the doctors about these hiccups, but they were like, oh, that's really bizarre.
Right.
Can't do anything. So yeah, that's when the tics started. And then I did get more in college, and it was stuff like clapping and blinking and like eyebrow raising. I've had that one for years, just like very minor ones. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, I also started struggling with selective mutism, which I didn't know existed at the time, and I didn't know why I couldn't speak in college, but it was just like a block and I couldn't get any words out. It was almost like the same intense fear that I mentioned in secondary school. I was still very fearful of people.
Paralysed with fear almost. Is that
yeah,
one way of putting it?
essentially, yeah. But selective mutism is, I mean, selective is kind of misleading because it makes it sound like a choice and it's not. But basically, it's usually confined to one place or certain people. So with children, the most common place is school.
Okay.
And then like with me, it was just college. So it was like the second that I got in the taxi to go to college, that was it. I couldn't speak for the rest of the day. And then I'd come home, walk through the door, hi mum, how are you? Like it was just a complete switch.
And now we sort of come into the really scary stuff, don't we, where you began jerking uncontrollably at college one day. I think you woke up in an ambulance at one point, and you've still got no idea, and nobody's really got any idea why this is happening.
Yeah, so I turned up to college one day, and we were all outside waiting for the teachers to kind of let us in and finish their meeting, and my shoulders started doing this, going up and down. And I was with a friend at the time, and he was like, Evie, what are you doing? And I wasn't really responding, and I was kind of like walking in circles, and I didn't know this at the time, but that was all the seizure starting, because with seizures there's so many different types, and it isn't just lying on the floor thrashing. A seizure can look like walking around not responding, and so I was getting really, really twitchy. And then he was like, Evie, do you want to sit down? And so we got sat down on this beanbag, and the teachers came out. I don't know, it's all very blurry.
I'm sure it is.
I mean, this was 2016.
Yes.
But they got me on a beanbag, and then I know that that's where I went into the full seizure, and then the next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance.
That was the first one?
Yeah, first ever seizure, yeah.
And there's been a lot since?
Yes, yeah, thousands.
When you're in one, what are you conscious of? You know that you know that you're having a seizure, the more familiar it gets?
Yes. Yeah, I'm very aware now that I'm in a seizure, and I think that actually adds quite a lot of fear to it, because it's like I know that I'm doing this and I can't stop it, and my body is sort of doing its own thing, which I don't like. I hate not being in control. It's a really scary thing. But I am actually quite aware in my seizures. It's quite common that I can actually still hear people. It's just that I can't respond, and it might be muffled, or it might not even sound like English to me.
Yeah.
But I'm still quite aware in them.
And are you conscious of time? Do you know that this too will pass? Are you aware that you just have to?
I don't usually know how long it's been. But
you know it will end, do you, when you're in it, or not?
I know it will end at some point, but sometimes I'm in a really severe one, and I'm thinking, this is one of the ones that's going to go on for hours and hours, and my parents are going to have to call for help. Like some of the seizures that I'm in, I just know that it's just not going to stop on its own, and that's quite scary, because I would just do anything to come out of it at that point.
That's what interested me, the idea that you're conscious of it, and yet utterly unable to exercise any control over it at all.
It's terrifying, because sometimes I'm in it and I'm thinking things that I want to say to my mum, like I'm in so much pain, or I need to move, something hurts, or my head is really banging, or like my eyes are stinging because I can't blink, and like there's often quite a lot of things I want to say and I just can't.
First time worried about asking a really stupid question.
No, that's all right. Go ahead. Go for it.
Probably should have been a few times before.
No, you're fine.
First time I'm owning up to it. How do you know, and we'll talk next about what PANDAS is and what we know about it, which is far from complete. How do you know where your Tourette's ends and your PANDAS begins?
Because my Tourette's is all the ticking and twitching that I'm doing right now.
Yes.
And then my PANDAS is all of the things like my seizures, dystonia, paralysis, even the depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
We now know that was all PANDAS as well. Delusions, the paranoia, derealization and depersonalization disorder. So basically the Tourette's is just the ticking and the twitching.
So the most immediately obvious on a normal day is the Tourette's, but the absolute bedrock of what's going on is
yeah.
PANDAS.
PANDAS is like a hidden disease, whereas Tourette's is quite visible and people notice it.
So paediatric auto, I'd get this right. I wrote it down. Paediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder. There's also PANDS.
Yeah.
Alongside, they're two different diagnoses. You have PANDAS.
Yeah.
Which is, you only got diagnosed last year.
Yeah.
Shall I have a go at explaining what it is, or do you want to take
No,
over
you can go for it.
away?
I get confused with all the medical terms. You can try.
I bet you do. So
Hello.
You have a sort of inflammation of the brain.
Yeah.
Which manifests in what we would think of as mental health conditions. So because your brain is swollen, your brain is misbehaving. It is, and it can come from streptococcal. They're quite confident it comes from strep infections.
PANDAS comes from strep. Yeah, that's what the A and the S is on the end.
So
ass.
that brain response to a physical impetus looks like a mental illness, and that's why you mentioned depression and anxiety. I know that you had hallucinations during that period.
Yeah.
So it's really weird and really often misdiagnosed because it looks like mental illness, but it has a physical explanation.
Yeah, that's why pretty much everyone that has PANDAS is at some point misdiagnosed with FND is a big one.
Right.
Eating disorders, even things like autism because of all the sensory issues that it can cause.
Yes.
Mental health issues. A lot of people are sent to CAMHS and they don't know what to do with you. Yeah, it's not easy.
Because you get given treatments that would be normal for people with normal depression, or treatments even for normal people with normal hallucinogenic conditions, but that's not what you've got, and they don't know what you've got. And there's a skepticism as well, I think. We're a lot further behind America in this country for accepting it as a real thing and treating it as a real condition.
Absolutely. There's still a lot of research that needs to go into it, and there's still so much that doctors don't know about it, and I think just getting the name out there is really important, because you say the word PANDAS and people think of the animal. Like, it's got such a cute name, but it's horrific.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, really, I think.